नमस्कार श्री Ramakrishna Kathamrita कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदादतं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः। श्री रामकृष्ण कथामृतो प्रथम भाग सप्तम खंडो द्वितीय परिच्छेद. We are going to read now the second chapter of the seventh section of the first volume of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna in Bengali, Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita. And in this chapter, Sri M is going to tell us about Sri Ramakrishna, telling us about Mrunmoy Adhare Chinmoy Devi or Vishnupure Mrunmoy Darshan. Sri Ramakrishna is going to tell us in this particular chapter of reaching the Divine Mother filled with spiritual illumination, the Chinmoy, to Mrunmoy. Mother, clay image of the mother. Clay image of the mother is just an ordinary image with the beautiful mother, and meditating on that Mrunmoy, meditating on that clay image, with full devotion to the clay image, how one can reach the Divine Mother, the formless mother, who is filled with spiritual illumination, the Chinmoy. And then Sri Ramakrishna is going to tell us about his own vision of Divine Mother, Mrunmoy in Vishnupur. বেলা দুটো তিনটার সময়ে ভক্তবীর অধর সেন ও বলরাম আসিয়া উপনীত হইলেন ও ভূমিষ্ঠ হইয়া প্রণাম করিয়া আসন গ্রহণ করিলেন. Now, around 2-3 in the afternoon, the two great devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. M is already there, the wonderful devotee. Just a few days back, on the 14th, he celebrated the 160th birthday of Sri M. Mahendranath Gupta. And Sri M is already there, and he says two more, another great devotees, Udhur Sen and Balram Boshu of the Bhag Bazar. Udhur Sen and Balram Basu have also Ashia Upunit Hoilen. They have come and they have presented themselves before Sri Ramakrishna, who is sitting in his room on that small cot. And Bhumishto Huya, prostrated. Now, this inner core disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, there were two types. Even among the inner core, they were future monastics. Narendranath Datta, Swami Vivekananda, Akhal, Swami Brahmananda, then Swami Shivananda, Baburam, Swami Premananda. Now, all these young boys, Sri Ramakrishna was training them to be the future monastics. But Sri Ramakrishna also in his inner circle had these great householders who were as competent as any of these monastics. They were householders. They didn't renounce the world. They didn't renounce their homes. They took care of their homes. In the selfless spirit, Sri M. And these two he has narrated, Udhur Sen, Balram Basu, Girish Chandra Ghosh, all these householders, Ramachandra Datta. So he had these two types of disciples forming his inner circle. It is not that inner circle was only comprised of the monastics, the would-be monastics. No, even these great householders, Nag Mahashay. Now, on this particular day, Sri M is telling that two of the other great disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Udhur Sen and Balram Basu, they also came, they prostrated and took their seat in front of Sri Ramakrishna sitting on the floor. তারা জিজ্ঞাসা করিলেন, আপনি কেমন আছেন? And these two beloved children of Sri Ramakrishna, they asked him, how are you doing? Normal. And what was Sri Ramakrishna's reply? ঠাকুর বলিলেন, হ্যাঁ, শরীর ভালো আছে, তবে আমার মনে একটু কষ্ট হয়ে আছে. Sri Ramakrishna says that, oh, the body is fine. Physically, everything is perfect. But the mind is slightly a little disturbed, a little restless, a little worried. But হৃদয়ের পীড়া সম্বন্ধে কোন কথারই উত্থাপন করিলেন না. But he didn't mention anything about the concern, about the worry, about the why he is disturbed on account of his Hriday, his nephew being not well. He didn't say anything. And towards the end of previous chapter, the first chapter that we read, Sri M had mentioned that Sri Ramakrishna said that somehow if Hriday gets some money, monta sthir hoye. If he gets some money, his mind will find some peace. But কিন্তু কোন বাবুকে আবার বলতে যাব, কে বলে বেড়ায়? And then he was also worried. But then how can I tell anybody, please give some money to Hriday? How can I beg for any money? Because money and Sri Ramakrishna, that was total, contrary things. He could never touch money. He could never think of money. He could never think of begging money for his nephew Hriday, who was in such a bad condition. And therefore Sri M here specifically points out that although he was worried, that if he gets some money, Hriday will feel a bit better. But here now although two of his Balaram Bosh was a great Jamindar. I mean, had Sri Ramakrishna told him, Balaram Babu, help my nephew Hriday, give him some money, Balaram Babu would happily he would have filled the pockets of Hriday Ram with loads of money. But Sri M writes that হৃদয়ের পীড়া সম্বন্ধে কোন কথারই উত্থাপন করিলেন না. No, he couldn't say. He couldn't utter that, oh, my nephew is in a dire straits. He needs some financial help. Can you do something for him? No, he didn't say. And that's how. That's what Sri Ramakrishna was. He suffered himself internally with the worrying about Hriday. But it didn't come to him. I mean, he could not just ask anybody, please go and help. No. And, so somehow he just avoided talking anything about Hriday. And then the talk went on to Bodo Bojarer Mullikkader সিংহবাহিনী দেবী বিগ্রহের কথা পড়িল. And then the conversation, it turns to goddess Simhavahini. Shinghavahini is the goddess, the form of Lord Durga, who rides the lion, who is sitting on the lion, Shinghavahini, in the house of Maliks of Bajar. Boro Bajar, of Boro Bajar. Boro Bajarer Mulikoder Shivavaini Devi Vigroher Katha পড়িল. Now Sri Ramakrishna starts talking about goddess Simhavahini in the house of Maliks who were staying at Boro Bajar. Sri Ramakrishna. Simhavahini, আমি দেখতে গেছিলাম. I had gone to see the Simhavahini. আশা ধোপা পাড়ার একজন মলিকদের বাড়িতে ঠাকুরকে দেখলো. And then he says that at the house of one Maliks, where at Asha Dhopa Para, that is another locality in Boro Bajar. আশা ধোপা পাড়ার একজন মলিকদের বাড়িতে, এক মলিক, ওয়ান মলিক, ঠাকুরের দেখলো, I saw that image of সিংহ বাহিনী। তারা গরিব হয়ে গেছে, their family very poor। এখানে পায়রার গুড়, ওখানে শেওলা, এখানে ঝুরঝুর করে বালি সুরকি পড়েছে। Says the family lives in such a dilapidated house. They are in such a dire strait. The straitened circumstances. এখানে পায়রার গুড়, you enter the house and you see the droppings of pigeons. The floor is filled with droppings of pigeons. Okhane sheola. There is moss, that green colored thing which grows with where there is a lot of humidity and water stagnation. Even within the house also it grows. As it is, Calcutta is a humid place. So the moss is there, and then এখানে ঝুরঝুর করে বালি সুরকি পড়েছে। The lime and dust is just peeling off from the walls. The plaster is crumbling off the walls. অন্য মলিকদের বাড়ির যেমন দেখেছি, এ বাড়ির সে শ্রী নই। He says, the prosperity, elegance that I have seen in the houses of other maliks. Now maliks are supposed to be great landlords with a lot of money, aristocrats. Sri Ramakrishna says, in this house of the maliks, in Chashadhopa Pada in Boro Bazar, this house of maliks is not like the affluent house of other maliks that I have seen. Not this one. মাস্টারের প্রতি, আচ্ছা এর মানে কি বলো দেখি? Sri Ramakrishna says, what does this mean? This malik's house is not like the pomp and posh houses of other maliks. What does this mean? Do you know? There is certain meaning behind this. And Sri Ramakrishna asks him, do you know what does this mean? That this house of maliks was in a very straitened circumstances. The plaster is peeling off the wall. As you walk on the floor, you walk over droppings from the pigeons, and the algae, the moss, it has started growing on the walls, on the floor, with all that humidity around. And what is this meaning? And then Sri M couldn't utter anything. He said, what to speak of it? Master চুপ করিয়া আছেন. Master didn't say anything. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, কি জানো, যার যা কর্মর ভোগ আছে তা তার করতে হয়, সংসার প্রারব্ধ এসব মানতে হয়। And then Sri Ramakrishna says, he had asked him, do you know what does this mean? Sri M couldn't reply anything. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, you know what? Everyone must reap the fruits of their karma. যার যা কর্মর ভোগ আছে তা তার করতে হয়। Everyone must reap whatever karma one has done earlier in this life, in the past birth. সংস্কার প্রারব্ধ এসব মানতে হবে। Sri Ramakrishna says that one must believe, one must accept that there are tendencies of the past birth, samskaras, tendencies that we carry with us birth after birth after birth after birth. All those accumulated tendency in the subtle form that we are carrying with us. After leaving this body, we'll carry our samskaras to next birth till the time we are not liberated. These samskaras, these tendencies from the past birth and the prarabdha. will continue to come with us, will continue to make us behave in certain manner. সংস্কার প্রারব্ধ এসব মানতে হবে. One must accept, one has to accept that there are tendencies from the past births, and fruits of these actions are now being played out. All those past actions, the actions we have done, committed, acts we have committed in the past births, the tendencies that we have carried with us in the past births, they all have come with us in this present birth. And therefore, you see, one Malik who is in such a lavish, living with such a lavish lifestyle, and this Malik in the Bora Bazaar, whose house Sri Ramakrishna had gone, he is living in such straitened circumstances, such dire circumstances. The house is leaking, the roof is leaking. There is a dropping of pigeons everywhere on the floor, and there is the moss has collected over the walls and the floor. The plaster is peeling off, the sand and lime they are all just coming out from the walls. That is the straitened circumstances, the unfortunate circumstances in which this family of Maliks is living at the moment. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, this is all because of sanskaras and the prarabdha. We cannot avoid, we have to accept it, we have to believe in that. We cannot just shun. No, there is nothing like sanskaras. There is nothing like prarabdha. Why this? So Sri Ramakrishna says, this is because of the sanskaras and the prarabdha. And one must believe in that. আর ওরা বাড়িতে দেখলুম যে সেখানেও সিংহবাহিনীর মুখের ভাব জোল জোল করেছে, কবির ভাব মানতে হয়. And he says, in that dilapidated house, ওরা বাড়িতে দেখলুম, in that dilapidated house of these Maliks, I saw the face of Simhavahini beaming with glory. সেখানেও সিংহবাহিনীর মুখের ভাব জোল জোল করেছে. It is shining, it is beaming with glory, even in spite of being in those straitened circumstances. That goddess Simhavahini, that form of Durga riding over the boisterous lion, that form was so much beaming with glory. ভাব জোল জোল করেছে, কবির ভাব মানতে হয়. You have to believe the divine presence in the image of that deity. Although that form, although that image was in that house, dilapidated house, that house which was in such a bad condition, but Simhavahini, she was in her full glory. And Sri Ramakrishna says that one must accept, one must believe in the divine presence in that image also, where that image is irrespective, is immaterial, whether that image is in a palace or that image is in this dilapidated house. The image of the Divine Mother, the Divine Mother is always in her fullest glory. She is the mother of all, she is the mother of the universe, she is the eternal mother, the Divine Mother. Although it is just an image, although it is a mrunmayi, mrun is clay, made out of clay, that mother of the image made out of clay is so glorious, filled with glory, filled with divine glory, so charming, so beautiful. One must accept the divineness, divine presence, even in the image of the deity. Again, Sri Ramakrishna is telling this to M. He asked this question specifically to him. Why is it that these Maliks are in such a dire circumstances? Because of the sanskar, because of the prarabdha. And then he said, In that house, I saw this mother Simhavahini in all full glory, full divine glory. Now Sri M, who is a strong believer of the formless aspect of the God, the Nirakar aspect of the God. Him again here in this chapter also, Sri Ramakrishna is telling the greatness about the image of the God. So Sri Ramakrishna always brings this point to the attention of Sri M that God with form also is there. It is not just that because you believe in God without form, you should disbelieve God with form. So that was a beautiful teaching, a subtle teaching Sri Ramakrishna time and again he gives to Sri M. He brings this point to his notice that believe in God with form also. And therefore Sri Ramakrishna says that आविर्भाव मानते हुए you must believe this divine form of the Lord also, divine form of the Mother also. That was the teaching that Sri Ramakrishna gave in the form of this example and in the form of this incident from the past that he had gone to Malik's house. And next, he is going to tell about his experience, about this divine vision of Brunmayi when he had gone to Vishnupur. That is in our next reading. Then, Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishna. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swami.